Greetings, dear ones. It is Greetings, dear ones. This is Monday, February 22nd. Just checking to make sure, as days do seem to move and flow in a less linear form than perhaps previously, previous to the pandemic. As all of our schedules and time have kind of changed, adjusted, and moved according to what is currently going on in the moment, as well as our, you know, fixed schedules like school hours and work hours. But even those have become somewhat more malleable. Um, I am doing this in a series of meditations, energy practices for and on behalf of Texas. And yes, that includes other states that have been affected very deeply by this latest storm, snowstorm in this case. But in particular, Texas does seem to be having more challenges than others. The reasons why are still under investigation, but it is pretty clear that it was choices that certain leaders and those people responsible for not only the utilities, but just overall the maintenance and regulation and running of the state and all of its public services. So, one of the things that in preparation for this practice today, um, endurance and strength came through very, very strongly. Excuse me. In the form of a bull, as a matter of fact, that has been coming in for a couple days and very, very strongly, so that we're going to tap into that strength and endurance, for they certainly do, and all the cattle in Texas right now have had to endure a great deal. So that's one of the energetics that we're going to be experiencing in our own system, receiving, so that in that overflow it can be received by those that are in very difficult situations with burst pipes. Many are still without lights, without electricity, and with the pandemic, that makes it an extra challenging situation, because you can't just flop on somebody else's couch. You're endangering them, endangering you in many cases. There are people who are compromised, so it is extremely difficult. And even through now the reconstruction and the rebuilding, and maybe a lot of that was absolutely necessary for a reset of the state itself. One of the other, prominent concepts, and it is a concept because the word has been here so present for the past week. Many are aware of the Mars rover landing, and its name is Perseverance. And certainly that is an indicator of the program that has been persevering through a great deal for many, many years. And as people hear that word over and over and over again, the energy of that, not only the word, but the action, the aspect, perseverance, And that's dovetailing in with the strength and endurance. And I had a beautiful visit with a large, very strong caw, CAW, from a hawk this morning flying around my yard, hunting, looking for food. Um, Everything is still snow covered here, so he will have to bring forth a great deal of strength and endurance and perseverance in order to find anything at this point in this particular area. Unfortunately, as with much of the wildlife, certainly in this immediate area, they have been compromised by losing habitat and food sources, whether it's birds or raccoons or foxes or hawks. And we do need them, even in the suburban areas. Um, Foxes, again, present very, very strongly. I've seen fox tracks, thank goodness, in my yard. Um, and this morning, unfortunately, they needed something to eat and they ate a now renowned peacock in England who has been kind of a symbol for the joy that has so needed in a particular town. He's been residing in a school and everybody's been kind of watching him and getting updates from and about. They named him Kevin. Excuse me. So it's again symbolic of the way in which, some things must die in order for other things to live. And some of the choices and ways in which Texas and many other places have been ignoring or not aware of what leaders and authorities are deciding, and that just doesn't work in not only in a democracy, but it doesn't work in an evolved society. Participation, taking responsibility, awareness, finding out, that's all part of growth, whether it's individual growth or, excuse me, our collective growth. And I'm going to stretch this even further into the precept of many metaphysical traditions and practices and ways which, when a physical disaster happens, and it's not like they haven't happened throughout time, throughout history, excuse me, whether it was a polar vortex before, hurricanes, landslides, fires, etc. This is a way of the earth, but their frequency and their size or magnitude, that perhaps has been more prevalent for the past few decades, and that's what people are concerned with as far as our climate and as far as our environment is concerned, whether we have been affecting things to amplify what normally goes on the earth. Now, from a metaphysical perspective, as I said, many traditions feel that if a natural disaster strikes, that there is a great imbalance in that area by the collective, by the people, by the regional cultures, and that this is bringing not punishment, but full out attention, forcing a response, forcing some sort of opportunity, let's say, or presenting or creating potential for radical adjustment of perspective, behavior, choices. And if we from that perspective, look at the earth as a body, which it is. She is a body. It is very similar to what goes on in our individual experience, in that when you have pain in a given area, you will have a tendency to bring your hand there and rub it or press it, or in some way attempt to alleviate that pain. And that pain tends to get louder until we do what it is calling to do. Now, most people will address that physical pain with physical responses, medication, exercise, adjusting posture, what have you, or just keep pressing in on it. And from the perspective of this work, and again, many other traditions, schools, theories, etc., when there is a physical presentation in the body of discomfort or pain, there is a psychospiritual or physio-emotional cause. So that, you've often heard nowadays that most of the medications are addressing the symptoms, but we need to find out the cause of the disease or the cause of the imbalance in the body. And when you take that even further than a physical perspective, as I said, there is a psycho-emotional piece buried, stashed, stored in that particular location in the body. And when you pursue a process which allows you to get to that level of your being, excuse me, the underlying cause, and that is shifted, transmuted, transformed, then the physical presentation no longer needs to continue signaling you, creating the siren, the attention getting that the pain requires. So too on the body of the earth, there is a call, whether it's the fires in California, that perhaps, they have not been looking at the amount of clear cutting and growing Christmas trees instead of the natural trees that are there, the reinforcement of the beautiful redwoods. Some of them, many of them fell about 6 weeks ago in Sequoia National Park, and these are 1,000-year-old trees. And I also read that recently in that area, they had done some reconstruction and some construction of buildings. So without being, and this is a commercial venture, unfortunately, it's not overseen by the national park. And the company that does handle all of the food and the lodging and everything is Cisco, as a matter of fact. And just about all of our national parks, they received a contract from the government, and so their focus is not on necessarily conservation and nature awareness, but getting the job done, getting the construction done. And there is a possibility that they damaged the root system or in some way just disrupted that growth process. So the awareness of what we are doing to the earth, whether it is in that way, in a very localized way, or whether it's in a larger area, for example, Louisiana, and the petroleum industry and the amount of damage and poisoning of the waters, etc. And they've been hit over and over and over again by storms, which they always have been, but these are larger and more devastating. California, again, whether it's the logging, whether it's the inequity in the water. There's a fabulous program, a documentary on who owns the water in California. And it's actually a very few of the industrial farms, and people are going without water as a result. So we cannot continue to live in such a way as we have been for thousands of years, where we continually use resources and attempt to own them and control them, and usually that's done by a very small group. This is the process of evolution. That structure, that pyramidal structure that I've spoken about so often, is falling down. That is the old Piscean age form of culture and our planet and what we've been exploring. And we are moving into a more circular, equitable, collaborative, communicative, cooperative, connective way of being. And there's a lot of pain and suffering that is going to go on in that changeover, yes, but also, like the pain in the body, to bring attention to what we are not aware of or paying attention to or participating in or taking responsibility for. Whether it's a pain in our body that, we want a pill to take it away, which is, contributed greatly to the opioid crisis, or whether it is the disasters that are happening on a larger scale and more frequently, that the Earth's body is calling for the underlying cause to be addressed. So I know that's a bit of a stretch for many people, but just contemplate it, feel into it, and see whether any of that resonates for you. And for today, I would invite you to either sit very firmly on your sits bones or lie down. And if you choose to lie down, I encourage you to do so on a rather firm surface with some padding. Throw a blanket down or some sort of padding, and allow yourself to, whether seated or laying down, sink very, very deeply into what is underneath you, whether it's the floor, whether it's a chair, whether it's a couch. Really allow that surface to hold you, so you don't have to hold yourself up. For in that way you can sink more deeply into the energetics and the container that has been created, developed throughout this morning. Actually, the work started last night. And in that sacred geometric container, which is very unique to this point in time, those people who may be participating both live and in future, your energy field, your wider self, your guides, teachers, masters, angels, all of those you walk with, knowingly or not. Our ancestors. Our ancestors who have gone through so very much for us to be where we are at this point in time. Their strength, their endurance, their perseverance really allow yourself to sink down, allow your energy body to come down and into your physical body, whether you're laying down or sitting. We generally have our energy body outside or in the upper areas of our body because it is rather challenging to be present, to presence yourself wholly, fully, authentically, experiencing and feeling what is going on in your body, in your environment, in your community. But the more you are able to explore, know yourself, transform those pieces, the more space there comes for your energy field to settle down and in you throughout your day, assisting you, leading you, as a matter of fact, helping you. Additionally, within this very particular configuration for today, is the circle of life insofar as some things must die in order for others to live. So too must old ways die off. Excuse me. In order for new ways to come into being. Whether that's in our individual lives or our collective lives. Allow yourself to rest and settle in your own profound strength, endurance, perseverance, compulsion for growth and expansion. Now I'm hearing a strong, strong, strong life force. Back of everything in this reality, throughout the entire universe and beyond. Life underlies all there is. Allow yourself to experience that life force pouring in and coursing through you. Nothing you need do, nothing you need make happen or work at or effort. It is in the allowance that you will not only experience that life force coursing through you, through your body, through your energy field, through the environment around you, everything and anything, whether animate or inanimate, and as that life force is experienced by you and allowed to flow more fluidly and forcefully, filling every single cell, tissue, organ, gland, nervous system, skeletal system, every part of your physical body filling with life force. Until it comes to overflow, like a fountain, overflowing from you, through you, that life force which pulses through, bringing the strength and endurance and perseverance which overflows through you, to any of those that you may know that are in need of that filling of life force. those who may be physically in need, emotionally in need, psychologically in need, spiritually in need. And the more you let go and allow that life force to course through you, pour through you, fill you, infill you, and overflow from you, to any and all that may need in this moment, whether those known to you or unknown, in distress in Texas, any of the other states deeply affected by the recent storm, or an aspect of the earth, the animals, the environment that has been affected. Again, the more you let go, simply soften, simply allow the life force to pour in and through you, feeding every aspect of you, infilling and overflowing. There is no effort on your part. There is no visioning, there is no intention needed for life will move, will pour, will flow. We can only impede or block it in some way. We need not create it or make it happen, but simply allow it to move and flow in and through us. And as that is integrating in and through your body, through your energy field, in just the right way for you, your unique way. Based in your own originating patterning. Very, very gently and very, very organically allow for yourself to experience the process of moving from a less physical experience back to a more physical, third dimensional experience. And when and only when you are ready to open your eyes, and if you feel like you would like to stay in this and have the freedom of time to do so, you are welcome to. And whenever you do integrate or come back, you are integrated. You are perfectly cohesed so that you may continue to move throughout your day, hopefully with more agility and comfort physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And you are perfectly welcome to drop back into this, to just pull up the recording on YouTube. And I encourage you to subscribe, because although the Ancient Future Wisdom events have been occurring every Friday at noon for the past year and a half, I do spontaneous meditations or offerings such as today for and on behalf of a particular group or situation. And if you are subscribed to A Healer's Universe, that's capital A, Healers Universe, on YouTube, you will get notifications of meditations, energy practices. And in the meantime, it is, as always, with great honor, gratitude, and love for your presence here on the earth. Until next time, be well in all ways.